Subconsciously, I was trying to try to seduce him. I was wearing inappropriate things around him. That was really stupid of me at the time.
What are you two today?
We're everything.
Oh, I see that.
That's right.
I don't even speak to these two, number one.
No, we don't speak to you.
Okay. They don't speak to me.
Looks like Miss Kavanaugh is back again with the same question, but this time, the potential father is her mother's friend.
Ms. Kavanaugh, you appeared in our courtroom previously and tested two men as potential fathers of your 1-month-old son, Malcolm. Neither turned out to be his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Malcolm's biological father is a good friend of your mother's, the defendant, Mr. Spence.
Yes, Your Honor. I know how bad it sounds.
It sounds bad indeed, Miss Kavanaugh.
Subconsciously, I was trying to try to seduce him. I was wearing inappropriate things around him.
And why were you doing that?
I was drinking a lot. I don't know if I did it for like challenge or because I was wanting attention. It was just something that I did that was really stupid of me at the time.
So when the judge asked the defendant about his dynamic with the plaintiff's mother, we saw this.
Was he just a friend of your mother's? Did you know whether or not he was intimate with your mother?
That I do not know of. I just know that they were really good friends. That's all I know.
Mr. Spence, can you enlighten the court on the nature of your relationship with Ms. Kavanaugh's mother?
It's like she said, we just friends.
So it was never a sexual relationship ever?
No.
What do you infer from that?
Did you end up being in the position you were sleeping with your really good friend's daughter?
And this is how this middle-aged man got stuck in a really uncomfortable situation.
Came over a couple of times. She was in inappropriate gear. First time, I shunned it off. Second time, I said, hey, watch yourself. Third time, it's starting to look good. Fourth time, lapse in judgment, and here we are today.
How many times were you intimate with her?
Once.
I do not believe it to be once. It was at least twice.
Watching all this is just really uncomfortable, but let's proceed.
We have Malcolm, 1 month old, and your mother's friend could be his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So as you look at Malcolm, do you see Mr. Spence, any resemblance?
I see a little bit. Being in court previously, I found out that you can't always go on look at all.
Let's see what the plaintiff's mother had to say about her son's friend messing with her daughter.
It was very devastating, just because the relationship was inappropriate. I felt betrayed. When we were together, like all in the same room, I noticed them looking at each other a little differently.
You did?
Yeah, I knew my gut.
Woman's intuition.
Exactly.
Up next, Miss Kavanaugh's sister was brought to the podium.
And one day, me and Megan went to go meet Ken, and she was like getting something from him. I think it was like some money or something. And Megan told me, don't tell Mom that I had intimate with him. And then I went to go, because my mom was wondering, asking Megan questions, and Megan was denying it. But that's my mother, I'm gonna tell my mom. So I come clean, that's how my mom found out, is that it was intimate is because of me.
Since all beans are spilled, it's time for finger pointing.
I did come on to him, and it was probably really a strong come on.
You did admit that in court.
But he is a grown man.
I didn't mean for this to happen. Yes, I am a man. Yes, I could have told you no. Told you no thrice. As far as the baby being mine, I don't know. That's why I'm here to clear this up.
So, Mr. Spence, let me ask you this. Are you in a relationship?
I'm married.
FYI, there was another potential standing outside the courtroom.
I met him. He told me he had a girlfriend and kids and all this other stuff. We didn't do anything the very first night, we just drank a little bit, got to know each other. Second night, we hung out, and yes, we did have intercourse. That went on for like maybe a week or two. We wore condoms every single time, except for one time. We got very intoxicated. That's how that night happened.
Poor Scotty had no idea that his potential son even existed.
She texted me and said, I need you to take a DNA test. I had a baby on such and such.
The first time I told him I was pregnant was when I first found out. He told me there's no way, and we never talked after that, ever. Until a week or two ago when I found my old phone trying to look for people that I was sexually involved with.
But the potential father was not done with these two guys.
These are the last two possibilities, Miss Kavanaugh.
There's one more, Your Honor. Your Honor, when I said I was highly intoxicated, I was going to work drunk. If something bad happened to me, Your Honor, I would want to drink. Something good happened to me, Your Honor, I would want to drink.
Let's get one thing straight. You know you can't drink your problems away.
Yes, I found
And you
it out.
see that?
Yes.
Too many fishes in the bowl. The only solution is the DNA result.
Mr. Spence, you are not his father.
Okay.
Step-siblings' rage has landed these ladies in paternity court. and nobody is ready to back down that easily.
You claim your mother had an affair with the defendant's father. Today you're in court to prove that he is your biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
You and your sisters say Miss Holshoe is a delusional troublemaker whose promiscuous mother destroyed your family and ruined your home.
That is correct, Your Honor.
So Miss Holshoe is darn sure where she came from.
Our father's sister did that.
No.
And did not tell any of us about it. Our father didn't even mention her.
Nope. That's
So
a lie,
why would
ma'am.
she be put in the obituary if no one ever mentioned her or knew about her?
Our father's sister and her mother were best friends. And our aunt is the one that told her that she possibly might be related to us.
That's not true.
Is it me, or are the defendants giving mean girl vibes?
I had a relationship with Mr. Howard.
No.
Through the years after I found out that he was my father. And the only reason
No.
I'm even wanting to know he is my father is because I've recently learned that I have terminal cancer, and I'd like to have family history. I would also like to have some sort of information from them about him.
This is how the plaintiff found out that she was a product of an affair.
So after that, my mother told me, she took me and introduced me to DL. We had a relationship from then on.
First and foremost, I just want to say, don't get me wrong, I feel for her that she has cancer.
It's gonna cure me.
I'm talking.
So?
I'm talking.
Whoa, talk about having no sympathy at all.
If she is going to leave this world, there are unanswered questions in her mind and in her life
That's why we're here.
that she'd like to get answers to.
That's why we're here today, Your
That's
Honor.
fair. Did you ever hear about Miss Holshoe?
Never heard
No.
her.
Did anyone ever mention her?
Never.
Yes.
Apparently basic decency has nothing to do with age.
All of a sudden, you are brought into contact with Miss Holshoe. How old were you all when this meeting happened?
I was 19 at the time.
So you remember this day?
Oh, with clearly, like it was yesterday. They were sitting in a booth with my dad across from her and her mother. I was standing at the end, and he said, I just brought you guys here to let you know that she's your sister.
However, it looks like the Howard sisters are sure that they were not related to the Ohio woman.
The only time that my dad ever mentioned her till the day he died.
He had never
Ever.
mentioned it to any of the rest of us.
So your dad said it to you?
Yes.
If he told you, why don't you believe it?
I don't want to speak ill, but I mean, my dad he's dead. Her mother has passed away. It's obvious my dad messed around on my mom. It wasn't just her mother.
Exactly.
It was never just
I
her
agree
mother.
with that one.
Their testimony was concluded by the judge like this.
You felt like you had information that suggested her mother
Yes.
slept around frequently, we'll
Yes.
say that respectfully. And so it was your conclusion that even though my dad said this, it doesn't mean it's necessarily true.
That is absolutely correct.
Wow. Looking at what the defendant was dealing with for her whole life made us feel really bad for her.
It's not my fault that your dad had sex with my mother, and I'm a product of that.
And it's not our fault that they both did it either.
You never heard any rumors about your father cheating.
When we got older.
Right.
When we were
As
older.
teenagers.
Right.
As teenagers.
Only as teenagers.
Even after that trip, they were not ready to cut Miss Holshoe any slack.
Every weekend.
She's just coming in like a big old bulldozer. My maintenance man in my building was my father's childhood friend. He and I had a chat recently, and we chatted for quite some time. I do know that she thinks that she's our sister. So I asked him, and he said no. My mother was the only woman that my dad, at that time.
So it was time to get that sister in who had sympathy for the defendant.
He shares a father with you and your sisters?
Yes.
And your sisters say, oh no, she doesn't.
I believe that she is.
You do. Tell
Yes,
the
I
court
do.
why.
Because my father told me that she was.
She just needs a family, Your Honor, because her whole family, she's shut out. They've shut her out because she's such a devil.
Turns out that the grumpy lot was even rude to their own sisters.
What are you two today?
We're everything.
Oh, I see that.
That's right.
I don't even speak to these two, number one.
No, we don't
For
speak
saying,
to you.
okay. They don't speak to me.
So do you think your acceptance of Miss Holshoe affected your relationship with your sisters negatively?
I don't
Ostracize
know.
you because you
I
accepted
have no
them.
idea.
Carrying on with this is going to do no one good. Let's just get to the truth.
The probability of half siblingship is 98.1%.
Miss Seaton has not seen her own mother for the past 5 years because of the paternity dispute.
You've brought your mother to court because you claim she committed paternity fraud and lied to you about the identity of your biological father. You were raised believing one man was your father, but are here to prove another is your dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
She further explained the animosity like this.
The reason that I haven't seen her talk to her in almost 5 years is because she's a liar. I was raised to think that a man named Jesse Seaton was my biological father. He signed my birth certificate. He cut my umbilical cord. He was awesome. I have since found out there was another possibility that Mr. Bryson could be my father.
Right from the start, it was clear that mother and daughter could hardly bear each other's presence.
It's like neither one of you have looked at the other one. And your mother and daughter haven't seen each other or spoken in 5 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
All because of a paternity issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
So the judge dove into the other daddy revelation part.
I needed a blood transfusion. My mom was supposed to make it to the hospital. She never showed up. Whatever the reason was, my grandmother and my Uncle Paul had both donated blood for the blood transfusion. It came out that they were not. Either one of them wasn't a match. They couldn't give me the blood.
Why do you look like she's not telling the truth, Miss McPeak?
It's untrue.
How do you respond?
Because she's a liar.
Wow, that's quite an allegation, Mommy.
My grandmother did submit a statement.
It reads, I know my late son Jesse Seaton is not Jessica's father. Everyone in town knows that Teresa was with Greg while she was pregnant. I don't know why Teresa keeps denying. I couldn't go years without telling Jessica who her real father was, which is Greg.
Okay, we're getting a family drama, right, I guess.
She's just as big a liar as her granddaughter, plain and simple. She never thought that I was good enough for her son. He could have had DNA at that time. He didn't want DNA. He said he was 100% sure it was his. Ever since Jessica's been old enough to talk, maybe kindergarten, she's been nothing but an habitual liar.
Very harsh words to say about your own daughter.
Jessica remembered her alleged father as a perfect man.
What hurts me the most is that this man died thinking that I was his only daughter. That right there alone hurts more than, the fact that I'm about to get results on whether or not Mr. Brighton or Mr. Seaton is my father. My mom, however, had told me more than one occasion that she had DNA done between me and Mr. Seaton.
This case is getting ambiguous with every passing moment.
Your mother told you the DNA test had been done.
Yes,
But
Your
when you
Honor.
did the research, you found out that there was no test because there were no results.
Yes, Your Honor. And according to Mr. Bryson, she had also told him the same thing.
Did you tell Mr. Bryson and your daughter about a DNA test?
No, everything she just said is a lie.
Oh, come on. What are these women playing at?
Proximity, were you intimate with both of these men, or is it your assertion you weren't intimate with both of these men?
I lived with Greg Bryson at the time. I met Jesse and we were friends. We just started going out as friends. It was very close in time because I had to go home and throw Greg out and he moved right across the street from me.
So, let's get the other potential daddy in.
She looked like my other daughter. I guarantee you, the money I got in my pocket, she's mine. Secondly, the grandmother, Jesse's mother, told me she's between the ages of 6 and 10 that she knew that was my daughter, not her son's. First, I guarantee you I'm the girl's father because she knows it.
Mr. Bryson was sure that he was the plaintiff's father.
And I never spoke to her again after that. And it wasn't until this girl got older that I knew for a fact. That's why I'm here today, to prove it. I guarantee you that I ain't her father. And nobody can understand why all the years, 32 years, why I keep a lie going. You know the woman, you know the men you sleep with. Unless you're doing 10 at night, you know who the father is. She deprived me of 32 years of being with my daughter.
Time for the result, I guess.
The biological father is Mr. Bryson. Just hug your daughter.
Okay. Told you.
Ellis's brothers are in paternity court because they doubt their uncle might be their father.
Mr. Ellis, you and your brother have brought your mother to court today because you say you've always believed the man in this photograph is your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then, just recently, you learned that your biological father may actually be your father's brother.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is how the brutal truth got out.
Your mother slept with your uncle and he may be your father.
Yes, Your Honor. We were at a family gathering, just having some drinks or whatever, and Uncle Ronnie came up to me and said, you my son, right? So...
Yeah, it was basically like a family get-together. It was a family function.
Well, Miss Shivers explained herself like this.
You admit you slept with both brothers.
Yes, Your Honor, I did. I had no choice. I had nowhere to go. And I ended up at Mama Mildred's house where Ronnie lived. I lived there as well. We got intoxicated. We had a one-time thing, and that was it, which was a big mistake, Your Honor. But,
I mean, things happen.
I had nowhere to lay my head, and we grew up together. We're best friends.
Different treatments had taken a toll on the author.
He didn't even write me that much when I was in jail, but he wrote him, sent him money, so that made make me feel some type of way as well.
Unfortunately, we had to take a trip down the road. My dad, my father, he wrote me more than he did my brother. You don't do that. If that's your child, you know, you're supposed to be there through thick and thin like my mom.
Next up, younger Ellis pointed out physical differences.
Uncle Ronnie is big. That's a big guy right there. You know, they broad. I'm skinny, I'm slim, you know. His hair is different from my hair. I mean, if we got the same dad, okay, wouldn't you think that his texture of his hair would come out the same as mine? Because I got...
Not necessarily.
Well, Your Honor, I was married to another man before I left and went to Detroit, and that's when I got pregnant with Eugene.
Okay, we didn't see that coming.
You had absolutely no idea until
not
this
even a
very
possibility
moment.
until right now. Not even a possibility somebody else could be my father.
Ms. Shivers, I want to make sure we're clear. You're now stating that you had been in a relationship before you got to Detroit, so you were in a relationship with both men in close proximity. There could be a doubt as it relates to Eugene's paternity as well.
Anyway, let's get Uncle Daddy in.
Is this your understanding that you could potentially be this young man's biological father?
Yes.
How did you realize that this young man could be your biological child?
My brother had put her and Eugene out, and they came back to Chicago and lived with me. And while they were living with me, she said we only had sex once. She must have meant we only had sex once sober.
What does the birth certificate say?
Ellis is on my birth certificate.
John Ellis is listed as father.
Yes, Your Honor.
John Ellis is a possible father,
Yes,
and he's also
Your Honor.
listed on his birth certificate. His brother, Mr. McClellan, is also a possible father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are there any other possible fathers?
Yes, Your Honor.
The old woman here has an odd stance on her action, and even Judge Lake pointed it out.
So much history and just herd after herd, and then confusion and secrecy after secrecy, and your mother's openly saying, I was in a different space and time and trying to stay alive. I'm dating these older men. I'm a young woman. There's so much going on. There are more potential fathers.
Yes, Your Honor.
But for the brothers, all this was an identity thing.
Find out our identity.
So they can go on
And so
have a life.
this not knowing, this confusion is making issue with you as brothers.
Everything was based on a whole bunch of lies. And what we thought was the truth of what we were told and grew up thinking, come to find out, it ain't.
I try to protect them with the little white lie here and there. You don't understand, Eugene.
We want the truth.
Let's give them the closure they're looking for.
It has been determined by this court, John Ellis is your father.
I knew that. I knew that. I knew that. I knew that. I said that from the beginning.
You won't believe what this trio has been up to before landing on paternity court.
You claim Mr. Morton fathered your 7-month-old son, Aaron, while in a relationship with his current girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say the only reason he denies paternity is because his girlfriend turned him against you because she's been unable to conceive a child with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're suing for $2,047 in back child expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
While Mr. Morton terribly tried to defend himself like this.
You say the timing of Miss Parker's pregnancy doesn't add up, and when today's DNA results come in, you will win the case because you're not the father.
That's right.
So, Miss Parker, how did you end up having sex with Mr. Morton if he has a girlfriend?
That's my big father. Anytime I want to have sex with him, I'm going to have sex with him. You know, we did what we did.
Miss Parker was pretty confident about what she had going on.
The only reason why she was able to have sex with us is because I asked my boyfriend to have sex with her because she was lonely. My desires, me and my little freakiness, my boyfriend, can you have sex with your pregnant baby mother because she's in need?
Pause, Your Honor.
How would she know if she's not there?
Your Honor, that is not true. Before I even left, we was having sex before then. She wanted to have sex with me.
And the baby mama was sure who the father was.
I know that that's my son's father. He looks exactly like my other son.
And so you're doubtful, Mr. Morton, because you say there's a timing issue.
Yes, from my understanding, that's only would be 7 months if she
I
had
never
my son
said I
in.
got pregnant in May, Your Honor.
When were you intimate?
The week of Mother's Day, May 11th, I believe.
Guess what she hasn't done yet?
Your testimony, Ms. Parker, is that you weren't intimate with anyone else during that time?
I did not have unprotected sex. Yes, that's what I said.
Were you having sex with anyone?
Your Honor, listen, I do what I do. I love me. You understand me? I don't have unprotected sex with nobody.
The judge concluded the awkward situation like this.
I was pregnant by my boyfriend, yes, but I had a miscarriage. Subsequently, I got back in a sexual relationship with Mr. Morton, had unprotected sex, and I was pregnant again.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what I wanted to understand.
Yes.
At the point you realize you're pregnant.
I told him I was pregnant, and I did. I'm not gonna lie. I told him, this is not your baby. Being as though I have a sonogram telling me I'm 13 weeks.
FYI, both women were not done with their drama.
Are you all gonna continue to have this unprotected sex?
No sex, Your Honor. He's good. He's good with his wife. How long that's gonna last?
What's the point of you knocking what we have? Ebony.
I'm knocking it because
this is out of character for me. I have never, ever in a million years came at this woman like this.
But now, it was time for the result.
Morton, you are Aaron's father.
Thank you. Told you, like I'm not no. Come on. Thank you.